Good news for probably most of the Classroom of the Elite light novel enjoyers. So recently, a new colored illustration for Year 2 Volume 9 was released. If you're not aware, then it's just that 2 months before the release of a volume, a colored illustration from that volume is released. So with the new release illustration, it's confirmed that Year 2 Volume 9 will be released on February 25th, 2023. However, that's not the good news that I'm talking about. I mean, sure, it's a good news that we are getting Year 2 Volume 9 without any delay, despite the release of Volume 0. Which shouldn't be surprising since Volume 0 was announced as a separate release. But anyways, all of that aside, the good news is the illustration itself. Why? Well, here's the thing. Even though the Classroom of the Elite community disagrees on a lot of things, there's one thing that everyone wholeheartedly agrees upon, and that is the growth of the character Ichinose Honami. And I know what you're gonna say.
Growth, bro. What is that? What do you mean growth? Do you mean growth? Growth where?
Yeah, I hear you. And that's the reason. Since Year 2 began, Ichinose has been kinda not so great of a character that we expected her to be. Like in Year 1 Volume 4, when she uncovered the whole of Ainakoji's plan, we expected great things from her, but since then, there hasn't been much. The only notable growth we saw in her was much later in Volume 9, where she accepted her past and moved on. But after that, everything has gone downhill for Ichinose. She has kind of become too predictable after what happened on the island. I mean, after the confession, it became a repeated theme of Ichinose and Ainakoji accidentally meeting and her running away. And her not being able to move on from Ainakoji negatively affected students in her class. At least this guy. Not to mention her class has become Class G and probably the only class in history to go from Class B to Class G in the span of 1.5 years. Now granted, the decline to Class G did not happen because of the confession scene, it started way earlier, but the change after the confession scene did not help either. On the contrary, it had a bad effect. And well, after all of that and a couple of wild encounters between them, everyone was hoping for a character development arc for Ichinose where she finally moves on from Ainakoji, reconsiders her class policies and gives a great competition to other leaders. But a year and some months later, there was no sign of it. Things were looking downhill for her. Or at least that was the case until the release of Year 2 Volume 8, where one of the illustrations, this one, caused a lot of opinions from the community, ranging between Ainakoji does not deserve Kei, that's cheating, to finally something's happening with Ichinose, and everything in between. To be honest, the last part of Year 2 Volume 8 did hint towards the potential of Ichinose's involvement in upcoming volumes. It seemed like something is about to happen, like it's finally time. But still, that was it, nothing more. Or that was the case until a few days ago, when the illustration of Year 2 Volume 9 got released. A colored illustration of Ichinose Honami. Now this right here is the good news, even if you don't like Ichinose, because this means that things are about to go down. We all know what's going to happen at the end of Year 2, and with Ichinose's growth, it's all coming together. So initial expressions, it looks like the time is around Christmas because Ainakoji and Kei were discussing that Christmas is near. You remember? The bet in Year 2 Volume 8? And if you look in the background, it seems like she's right outside of a store. Now this may or may not be a point of view, meaning either we are seeing a point of view of Ainakoji or it's someone else, possibly a third person view. But if you look at Ichinose, it's like she's meeting someone, so it's definitely a point of view. And I will be really glad if it's Ainakoji's, because all of their awkward encounters really need to end, and if it's Ainakoji's, then we are going great with Ichinose's development. She's already smiling and greeting, there's no hint of awkwardness anywhere. Has she finally moved on from Ainakoji? Good question, I am not so sure about that. Moving on with our assumptions that it's a store behind them, there are two possibilities. Either Ichinose just accidentally met Ainakoji here and she was intending to go to the store, or they discussed to meet here. Because the second possibility of Ainakoji and Ichinose deliberately meeting doesn't seem too possible, because I don't see any reason for Ainakoji to call up Ichinose on a winter night near a store. Speaking of which, I do think that the time is near Christmas and Ainakoji might be going to purchase a gift for Kei. He lost the bet, so whatever Kei asked him to buy, and surely he's not asking Ichinose to help him with that. That's impossible. I think what's happening here is that he's going to buy the present for Kei, and coincidentally he met Ichinose outside the store. So now two possibilities for Ichinose. She's either coming out of the store or she's going in the store. And you can see the umbrella that she's holding, possibly because of snow falling. As I said, it's near Christmas. But if she's coming outside, then she doesn't seem to be holding anything. She must have purchased something. Or wait, Ichinose, have you been shoplifting again? Sure, maybe she's holding a polythene behind her, that could be possible. Or maybe it's not a store at all, maybe they are just outside of their dorms. It cannot be confirmed from this image alone, so all of it being store is just my guess. Ainakoji going to buy the gift while Ichinose may also be going to buy something or coming out. That's what I thought of the illustration. And well, this is not the only illustration pointing towards her class, because recently we also got the cover for Year 2 Volume 9. And let me tell you, it's causing quite a stir. On the cover we have Watanabe Norihito and Mako Amikura, two characters that were in Ainakoji's group in Year 2 Volume 8. Both of them belong to Ichinose's class. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was reading Year 2 Volume 8, I had a completely different image of Watanabe in my head. Seriously, I was picturing someone more like a Keisei type, not this on the cover. But the real shocker for me was seeing Mako Amikura. She shares a remarkable resemblance to a certain other character, and let's just say you all had a field day with this. And to make matters worse, her hairstyle is almost identical except with shorter hair. I mean, seriously, what's going on here? But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see what changes are coming in Ichinose's class, and I'm sure you all are too. So do let me know your thoughts and your impressions of the illustration, and I will see you all in the next one.